Absolute Flash issue 1 starts things off in a very big way, introducing us to the new absolute version of the Flash being Wally West. And this is honestly an incredibly, really nice way to introduce the idea and concept of the Flash within the Absolute Universe. Now, what's interesting about the Flash is that there's really two mainline versions of the Flash throughout history. There's Barry Allen Flash, and then there's Wally West. For a long period of time after Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry died and Wally took up the mantle of the Flash for a couple of decades until Barry came back. Then he became the main Flash of the mainline comics, and then we continued on from there. But by making Wally the very first version of the Flash in the new Absolute Universe, this gives us a new interesting way to tell his story. He doesn't have a mentor to help him with the Speed Force, essentially, his super speed and abilities, or to show him how to be a hero, how to utilize things. It seems like he's going to have to learn how his powers work himself and work things out little by little, trial and error. And I love these types of origin stories for heroes, and I love whenever we take a bit of a spin on things with the mentored character essentially no longer needing a mentor and just figuring stuff out on their own, taking up the role of what would have been their original mentor's role, essentially. And I kind of like that. And issue 1 of Absolute Flash was a lot of fun and also gives a lot of people a lot of theory crafting for the future. So let's just jump right into things. Before all that, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now then, let's jump in to Absolute Flash issue 1. And we start things off in the middle of a desert with Wally, electricity just oozing off of him, as his mind is racing, multiple thoughts are just up going a million miles an hour, wondering what's going on, what's happened, how could that happen, all that. As we see that through all the speech bubbles, just they're piling on top of each other to symbolize his just overwhelmed mind, as he's saying how he messed up really bad. As we then get a double page spread showcasing just him in absolute pain, an image of his powers, and just seeing all these different images just seemingly flowing in his mind. And it seems like his version of the Speed Force, his super speed, might have some added layers to it, most likely. And what's interesting about this issue is that as Wally is telling himself to slow down, as the light begins to dissipate and he opens his eyes, it's 2 days ago. Yes, we are going to be jumping back and forth in time with this issue to see where we got to the specific situation that Wally's in. And Wally is 15 years old. He's walking down train tracks as he's saying how he's essentially by himself. He's got nobody. He's isolated from others. He doesn't know how to interact with others, but he's saying that it's pretty fine that he's by himself. And goes on by saying, she's gone and it's just me now. I don't need anybody else. As it's paired with imagery of him walking past some kids at a store as they're just smoking it up, and he's literally emphasizing how he has no friends and he's essentially by himself. We then cut to him arriving at a military compound where guards are asking him for his ID, but they recognize who he is, saying that his dad's going to be really pissed once he finds out he's sneaking back in. But then we see Barry Allen, who works at this military base, telling the guards to stand down, he'll take Wally home. Now, Barry already seemingly having a bit of a, I say, guiding light in Wally's life so far, trying to essentially be his friend and give him somebody to vent to, as he realizes and understands that Wally is kind of by himself. He has nobody else around, as he's in a military town where it's essentially just military personnel, and not many of them have kids or families in this area based off of the context clues that we have from what we've seen in the issue so far. Barry also gives us the information that Wally has been moving around with his dad from previous military bases and forts for a little while now, and so he's kind of never stayed in one place for too long. He's never really made any friends or people to hang out, and Barry recognizes this and is trying to, in a sense, give Wally an outlet in a sense of a friend. But when he brings Wally home, he asks Wally if he wants to see something cool. And so as he's talking to Wally, he brings him into his lab, and we get to see them walking around, seeing a bunch of like apes in a multitude of different rooms and capsules for these experiments. And so what we hear is that this is called Project Olympus. And Barry's not lying to Wally, saying that essentially, while they are on the razor's edge of physics and biology and what they're studying, it is quite literally weapons development, but it's only the beginning. Where they can go from there, they'll break new ground every single day. So he's doing this, yes, as weapons development, but he's hoping that this ends up breaking new ground into making some new scientific advancements in multitude of different areas. It's then that Barry essentially says, look, Wally, I know you're a smart kid, so instead of just moping around the barracks and kind of putting that to waste, why not come and work with me? I'll talk to your dad to see if he'll let you be here. I'll explain everything and he'll understand. But it's then that Wally's dad ends up coming in, and in an instance, he ends up asking Wally, what's he doing here? And he heard that he snuck in, but Wally just says, look, I wasn't sneaking in anywhere. I just went out for a walk in town and lost track of time. His dad says, oh, you're out with all your friends and all that, but Wally just says, what friends? There is nobody here for me. Barry tries to diffuse the situation, trying to explain himself, saying that it'd probably be good for Wally if he had some time to do stuff. And seeing that he is just stuck, bored out of his mind, and that he needs some compassion from his dad, you know, to explore things and not be stuck in his room all the time. It's not healthy for him. But the general, Wally's dad, just tells Barry to mind his own damn business and just tells Wally to go back to his room. As we then cut back to the present, with Wally just sitting in this desert, wondering what's going on. He can't look back. He should have never gone with Barry. He should have never stayed with his dad. He should just run and not looked back. And him being on his own, he can't hurt anybody. But it's then that there is a vehicle with a giant boomerang hovering over it, seemingly following Wally as he runs away into a cave as they detect him. As we then see this new team, this seems to be the Absolute Universe versions of the Rogues. And they're working for the military in this instance, so I guess closer to Task Force-esque the Suicide Squad, but just, you know, seemingly just actively working for the government without needing bombs in their skulls, seemingly, for right now. We got Captain Boomerang, Captain Cold, Golden Glider, and what seems to be in the back, Trickster. Honestly, the whole thing with him, with the guy in blue being Captain Cold, it wasn't obvious with blue, we get to see his visors. But right now, they have to take Wally in alive. And as Wally is running away, his powers begin to flare up. And it's then that they help us transition into the past to one day prior, with Wally playing the guitar in his room with his dad walking in, trying to have a talk with him. As he says, look, it's what you saw in the mountain. As Wally asks, what did I see? His father says, the work they are doing is dangerous, and I need to be here, but I also need to keep you safe. But Wally says, are you serious? You drag me across the country again because you need to be here. But what about me? His dad tries to tell him that it is his job, but Wally says, and what am I supposed to do? Just sit in my room and wait until you get some new orders and we move again. At least Barry had some interest in me, saw some potential in me. But this just only pissed off his dad even more, telling him not to go near Barry again, and he needs to understand him. But Wally just salutes him, saying yes sir, as he leaves the house, saying that if his mom was still around, then the two of them would have left his father by now. Wally gets out in the pouring rain, and we get to see these interesting red pieces of panels just extend throughout. Now, I can't tell what's in them, but it definitely shows like transitioning as we see Wally go towards the lab. A giant monkey just hits against the wall, freaking out, and this scares Wally as he runs away. And in another double-page spread, we see Wally encounter Barry. He's in a suit, seemingly a version of the Flash suit, conducting an experiment in the center of the lab, and he's telling Wally to get away from him, to run. As when this happens next, we transition back into the present, with Wally running away from the Rogues as they're trying to capture him alive. Now, Wally is running away, with images showcasing what seemingly happened in the lab. This weird energy coming out from where Barry was encased in, as he says, calm down, breathe. Wally, just breathe. No, you've messed everything up. This is all your fault, Wally. You can run all you want, it will never be far enough. You know what you did. As we then get to see an image of Barry Allen as a skeleton dead on the ground, with Wally saying, you did this, Wally. You killed him. And that's not where the issue ends on that cliffhanger. That would have been a really awesome cliffhanger to leave things off at. And apparently, the writer wanted to leave things off at this image of Barry's dead body with Wally curled up in the corner, believing that he killed him. And we still don't know fully what really happened in that instance when he found Barry in, for all we know, it's some variation of the cosmic treadmill that essentially helped with him getting his powers. But we then flash forward. Heck, the actual title was of Two Worlds, but we flash forward to 1 year later, as someone comes out of the mirror, essentially saying to get access to Project Olympus, giving the code word Blue Trinity. As in the last page of this issue, this is the absolute version of Mirror Master seeing multiple images. One of someone who seems to be on fire. For all we know, this could be Heatwave. We see potentially Gorilla Grodd. Wally with a psychic chimp. What seems to be an image of what happened, for all we know, of Barry's experiment that potentially killed him. Wally putting on his suit. As all Mirror Master says is, mirror, mirror on the wall, time to make the whole world fall. And that's where the issue ends. Oh boy, that is really, really cool. Honestly, I was not expecting things to go in this way. I was not expecting it being implied that Wally might have been responsible for Barry dying, or just maybe Wally being there distracted Barry to the point where the experiment went even further off the rails than he was going for, and maybe this was how Wally got his powers. Maybe Barry was supposed to end up getting powers in that instance, and then Wally ended up getting all that. With how his powers are depicted, with how the paneling works and the artwork, and how the lightning is shooting off his body in certain instances when he's remembering and we flash back to the past, his powers might be a bit different than the standard super speed or access to the Speed Force in the mainline comics. And I'm curious to see how we're going to explore things from here. Heck, people are already having theories that Barry is seemingly dead, but who knows? He might be Wally's version of the Reverse Flash, the absolute Reverse Flash in this new universe, which would be an insane twist on things if this version of Reverse Flash is in fact Barry. Would be a really, really cool switch about the formula, and it would end up bringing Barry back in a more villainous role, so that would be really damn cool. But yeah, we still got a lot of mysteries. What happened in the year seemingly when Wally gets his suit? What was exactly the experiment that seemingly killed Barry? Why is he being chased by this version of the Rogues that might be working for his father, who work for his father, the general for the government? And why is he fully on the run, most likely from his powers? Wally being on the run seems to be a mix of like the whole U.S. military trying to go after the Hulk from Marvel Comics and other versions of the Hulk, for all we know. This might be that version of it, with the general being a concerned father trying to bring his son home while also try and do things by the military's books and try and find a possible asset with his son's abilities. There are a lot of mysteries, and there is a lot being teased in that last page of the issue, with what we'll see most likely with the opening issues past this point of Absolute Flash. But I am excited to see what happens next. I'm really excited to see how Wally West, being the only Flash in this universe, the first Flash, how his journey to being a hero will end up going forward in the future. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this issue in the comments section down below. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I can't wait to keep talking about Absolute Flash and the new Absolute titles. I'm making a bunch of videos for our Absolute version of our Trinity, going over the first opening issues, hopefully within the next month or two before issue 7 comes out for all of them. We'll just have to wait and see for that one though. But with that out of the way, I hope you all have an awesome day.